Oh my gosh, you guys, I just finished Fires of Vengeance today and I can't wait to tell you about it. Ah! Okay, I'm fine. This is fine. Everything is fine. Everything's fine, right? I'm cool. I'm cool, I got this. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dana. This is Dana Reads. As you may have gathered in that first couple of seconds, I finished the Fires of Vengeance today. So my first ever book review for this channel was The Rage of Dragons, first book in this series. And Evan's done it again. Evan is amazing. And while I have a few critiques, it didn't ruin the experience for me. I still love this book. It was like a 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. But I loved it. So I'll start with the negative things first, just to get those out of the way. And that way we can talk about the good stuff. So, Fires of Vengeance. The first chapter, well, he has it divided up in chapters and then sections within the chapter. So that first section of the first chapter. So the first section of the first chapter in this book is sort of a rehash of what happened in the last book in a narrative way. And it's, I read the Rage of Dragons back in March. So for me, it was kind of a good rehash. Like, I remembered most of the stuff, but there were a few things that I had forgotten about. But it didn't really feel necessary. I'm sure if you read The Rage of Dragons and then the Fires of Vengeance back to back, it'll kind of, you know what I mean? But it's fine. The other, it wasn't bad. The ending, the beginning and the ending. So the ending, what happened was something that I've been waiting for to happen since the beginning of the first book, since the prologue of the first book. So it, I could kind of see it coming. Not that it wasn't bad. It just, I don't know. It was kind of like, because every time I think Evan is going to do something that I think he's going to do, he usually does something different. But he did what I expected him to do in this one instance. But again, not bad. It's finally happened, so now we can start figuring out what this thing is. I don't want to say because it's spoilery, but I've been waiting the whole time. Every time this thing is mentioned in the book, I'm like, ooh, is this gonna happen? What's this? What's this? What's this? Trying to figure out what that specific thing, person, entity, whatever it is. So, I know if you haven't read the books, you don't understand, but if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. I know it's very incoherent, but I'm not very coherent when it comes to book reviews. So, I am not very experienced in book reviews yet. The other negative thing, it's not necessarily a negative thing, just something nitpicky. Oh my gosh. I think of this in books a lot of the time. Not just this book, but there are times where it's so fast paced, which is fine, it's great, it's exciting. But you're like, how the heck do they get any rest? There are multiple things that happen just one right after the other, like big fight type things, without going into spoilers. And it's like, shouldn't you be resting? Shouldn't you take at least a nap or something? Eat? You know, I feel like maybe it's squeezed in there some, and it's not actually said, but man, how you can only go on rage, vengeance, and just like sheer force of will for so long before you pass the heck out. Know what I mean? human bodies are just not built for that. So, moving on to the good stuff. Evan, the magic system in this world is very unique. It's one of the things I loved about the first book. It's very different from your typical fantasy. If you don't know, I'm gonna stop holding this book because I keep moving it around. So the magic system did not disappoint again. A lot of fantasy books, I mean, one of the great things about modern fantasy is that it's branching out culturally. There are tons of great books now from different cultures, different, all kinds of stuff. And it's so great to dive into something that's not medieval based, Renaissance based, that sort of thing. There are those fantasies that are medieval and based in things like that. They pull other cultures into it, things like that, but it's just not as rich of a world, not as unique of a world as getting it from the someone else's point of view, like Evan Winter. And all I want to do is learn more about the culture and the lore and stuff that he kind of draws in on and learns from and bases his magic and stuff on. That is so cool. I'm fascinated by that. I want to know more. So that was something, again, in this book, just like the first one, that was really interesting and different as far as a magic system. Speaking of the magic system, I am not very creative when it comes to artwork. I cannot draw to save my life. I can barely even draw a stick figure. I am not artistic at all. So, if you've read these books and you're good at art or you know an artist, I need fan art of the demons from, I'm going to say it wrong, Ishihogo? Ishihogo. I will link the spelling because I'm going to butcher it and just not do it justice. So, Ishihogo is the underworld type, another world, another dimension where demons live, etc. It's where a lot of their magic is based on, without going into too many spoilers. My dog distracted me and I don't remember where I was. But fan art of any from the Rage Dragons and the Fires of Vengeance, I need some of that in my life. Like, it's gonna be what holds me over until the next book comes out. This book is book 2 in a series that's supposed to be 4 books. So there's more coming. Obviously, book kind of ended on a cliffhanger, even though I knew it was coming, but you know, anyway. So every single time we are in a scene where we're fighting demons, things like that, like, it seems like that's another pro of this book. Like, every time there's a demon in the book, or they're fighting demons, or whatever is going on, they sound so freaky. Like, each one is described differently. They all look different. I mean, well, everyone looks different too, but there's like big differences between all of the demons, and they sound super, super freaky. I don't know why I picture this, but I think of the monster guy from Moana. I know it's not the same culture or anything, but it's kind of freaky looking, and it kind of reminds me of a mild version of the demon, or the demons, like what one could possibly look like along those lines. I don't know why this comes to mind. I don't know. I'll link a picture of what I'm talking about. It's the little guy from the Realm of Monsters in Moana. I don't know, I just always think of that guy when they're fighting demons. But there's obviously differences. There's like huge, like big claws and talons and like different, like so many different varieties of them. And it just sounds freaky. And I'm amazed by it every single time I read it, one of those scenes. So I need some fan art because I can't put it into words and describe it well enough for you guys because I'm terrible at this. Another thing that really stuck out to me, so in the books, without going into too much detail, there are lessers and then there are the nobles. And there's different varieties of each. Like for lessers, there's the drudge and like the lessers, and then petty noble, greater noble, royal noble. Like there's a whole caste system, right? And it's something that Evan does really, really well. The racism and the socioeconomic differences that are just like plain as day right in front of you. But there are passages where they talk about their differences between the lessers and the nobles that make the subtleties of those things so much more apparent to me. I feel like he's really talking about current events, current issues, things like that, and I see through that, and I get where he's coming from. I will read an example. Okay, so when I first read this passage, this entire exchange between two people, I could not sleep. I was reading it in bed, and it just sort of spoke to me, if that makes sense. I just like, just the way he does it is so good. Okay, I'm gonna read it. So for context, again, trying to not be spoilery, this is a conversation between the Queen's vizier and the general, who was recently promoted, but he's a lesser, and a lesser has never been a general or a grand general before. So it's very hard for people to take his orders, causing a lot of conflict there. And then this is the conversation. I'll just say the vizier and the grand general, not their actual names, so you won't find out who gets promoted to general. So let's see. The general says to the vizier, "They will seek argument with me, not because of my ideas, but because of my person." And just that by itself is enough, right? I mean, you can apply that to so, like, our current political climate, our current, like, everything. Man, it just blows me away. Like, just, he says it so simply, but it just is very profound as well. Anyway, the vizier waved away his objection. "If your ideas hold merit, they'll win out in spite of your person." To which the general responds, "Yes, that's the lie everyone unaffected by hidden hardships believes." Man, talk about relevant. General, you expect me to believe that were you to present plans that would save us all, the nobles would reject them? Vizier, I think the world is too complex. Vizier, I think the world is too complex for most things to be purely right or wrong. Given that, the way words, actions, or even intent is viewed depends on who is doing the viewing and on who is being viewed. I see you, Evan. I see you. I see what you're doing. Okay. She chuckled. "Is this why you think you can't achieve all you want? You think that just because you're a lesser and they're noble, they'd kneel on glowing They'd kneel on glowing coals for no better reason than to prove you wrong if you say the fire it was still hot. Come now. To which he responds, you're right, they wouldn't do that. They'd have me walk across the coals with them as equals. Me in my bare feet, and them in leather boots. Sick burn. Okay. If you regard nobles with such distrust, you'll see even the ones reaching down to lift you up as nothing more than hands trying to push you down. To which he responds, I presume the queen is already inside. She says, that's it? Nothing more to say? Not to those who can't hear. I don't know why. That just like really stuck out to me because I feel like it, you know, this book came out after the election, and even not just the election in general, just man, it's just the way he words it, it's just so good. I love it. There's some other things that really stuck out to me. I'm not gonna go through all of them, but that was like the main thing that I just still think about it all the time. I've thought about it the entire time I've been reading this book. But yeah, I don't know how to describe it. I'm not doing a very good job. Good thing I don't get paid for this. I just do this for fun. I just want to gush. Just the prose, the writing style, just everything that Evan does is so good. I love the magic system is still really great. I did have some issues with the pacing, like I said, where it's just so fast paced, which isn't necessarily bad, but at the same time, it doesn't feel very realistic. Adrenaline, rage, sheer force of will is only going to get you so far, because some of these people in the books have really serious injuries, and I'm like, how the heck are you moving? But I still love it. And then, so yeah, I had some issues with the pacing. The beginning and the ending, I'm doing a terrible job. I don't dislike it. I still absolutely love the book. Obviously I gave it 4.5 stars. I just, I'm ready for the third one. I want to find out what happens. But yeah, the subtleties between the lessers and the nobles, just like all of the social commentary, yeah, that is sort of lining the passage. Ooh, another thought I kind of had during the book is that I don't know what the deal is, but the queen has a vizier, right? She never listens to her. She always like ignores what she says, and does whatever Tao or the general or what everyone else is advising her. So yeah, okay, wrapping up. Overall, the beginning and the ending were okay, they're fine. The pacing was, it was good, but I feel like the first book was also very fast-paced, but it felt like there was more time between big events, which feels kind of more realistic to where people can rest, at least for a day. The great things, the social commentary blew my mind, and then the underworld, Isihogo, is fascinating. I want to know more. I want to know more about the big bad, the big enemy, that we don't know necessarily anything of yet. We got a little bit more history and lore in this book from the queen, but not a lot. But it did build on from the first book. And then the fight scenes never ever disappoint. Tao is such a badass. Oh my gosh, I just remembered. So I talked about needing fan art of the demons. I also need fan art of Hadith and Uduak. I hope I said those names right. If I did not, I am sorry, Evan. I really need fan art of those two. I won't say why. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. I need fan art of them. I need fan art of all the characters in general, but specifically the demons and of Hadith and Uduak. Yes, I'm so worried I'm saying that name wrong. But to be fair, I pronounce a lot of normal English words wrong because words are hard. Moving on. Overall, in general, I absolutely adored this book. Even with the few issues I had with it, you're always going to find issues with books if you look hard enough. But Evan, I cannot wait for the third book and the fourth, but I can't wait to find out the thing at the end. I've been waiting for that to happen since the prologue of the first book. I've been wanting to know what that is, that specific thing. If you've read The Rage of Dragons, you kind of know. It's kind of mentioned and then left out, and it's just like a little toss in here and there. There's a little bit of foreshadowing of this big bad here and there, and I'm watching it. I've been watching it the whole time. I want to know what it is. So yeah, in general, he is a master with words. You should absolutely expand your fantasy reading and include The Rage of Dragons, which is the first book if you haven't read it. If you've read it, why have you not read The Fires of Vengeance yet? You should get on it. So thank you for sticking around. I know that was not, I'm new to BookTube and doing book reviews and stuff, and it's not very coherent. It's sort of either a gush or a rant. Other reviews I've kind of like sat down and tried to write things, and it just doesn't really mesh for me, because then I'll forget to look at notes and not even reference them. So what's the point of doing that? And I just haven't really found my style yet of doing a book review. I'll get there eventually. I'll do enough reviews where I find my sort of style, right? Gonna deal with this until then. But yeah, so I feel like if I try to sit down and kind of figure out what I want to say and make it all nice and coherent and pros and cons and all this stuff, that I end up not getting around to the review, just because like the initial book hangover kind of wears off, know what I mean? So I decided with this one, since I finished it today, that I was going to review today, even if it's total crap. So I'm sorry, you guys, if it's terrible. Hopefully you'll want to read these books. The first one is called The Rage of Dragons. I have a review of that on my channel. This one was just as good. Oh my gosh, you should read it. And then you should also watch interviews with Evan Winter, because he's such a nice, genuine, sweet person. And it makes me love the books even more. I'm so surprised that the fighting and the rage and all of this stuff comes from someone who seems so sweet. But yes, highly recommend The Fires of Vengeance by Evan Winter. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Again, I am on Instagram at Danamyte90, DANAMYTE90. I should try to change that to Danamyte Reads so it matches my channel, but I have not. I am, however, Danamyte Reads on Twitter, so give me a follow over there, and I will post when I do reviews, and I kind of sometimes post like when I'm reading and little things here and there. If you stuck around, thank you. Give this video a like, subscribe if you have not. I am new. I promise I will get better at these and be less awkward. It's just still really awkward talking to the camera. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna sign off. Thank you guys, and I will see you next time.